Yeah, our next topic here on Strictly Ball Business, where we only talk balls, is the idea of winning versus developing your players. Now, Dalton, as a fan of the Orlando Magic, I know you have plenty of experience knowing what it's like to rebuild and develop your players and see it not turn up to anything but ashes. Now,
Yeah.
what is your thought on this idea of wanting to win immediately as soon as you get a couple of good players versus developing those good players for a few years?
So like surface level, a lot of people just don't recognize what they need to recognize when a rebuild starts, or even when they see like one solid player comes out and starts scoring 20 points per game, like Cole Anthony. They're like, oh, we have our star. We have to be winning right now. I'm like, that's not the case. That's how you push a rebuild. Like, look at what the Trailblazers, they fizzled out. I mean, the Magic fizzled out with our last All-Star. Like we could only cap out because we just started trading away all of our assets way too early with the Serge Ibaka, like we were talking earlier. And people like the Pistons, where they just try to pull in. I mean, the Pistons just kind of just didn't get the talent they needed after Drummond and Tobias left, and it's just that was a whole
Yeah, they
thing.
were in limbo for a bit. They signed Josh Smith to a really weird contract while they had Andre Drummond, and they still had Greg Monroe, who was a decent player at the time. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of bad examples for sure. Right now, one where the team is just unwilling to go into the rebuild mode is the Indiana Pacers, and they always want to just try and win as many games as they can, even though like they get the smallest glimpse of what a star is. They just get they get a guy on their team. They're like, this guy's pretty fucking good. We could build around him. And it's like, but he wasn't that type of guy, They're Domantas Sabonis, your Victor Oladipo, Paul George was that guy, and they had him for a while. And they had a decent build around him for a sec.
Yeah,
Roy they've been trying since then, just not.
I think the Pacers this rebounder just have been fucked by injuries. Like I think they could have been a lot better. Like if Oladipo never got hurt, I think he was certainly playing at that level. Like that Oladipo played next to Malcolm Brogdon, Sabonis, and Turner. I think could have got further. I'm not saying they're a contender, but I think that could have made some noise. And by injuries, they've just gotten fucked, and it's just been like whatever. Now it's time.
Yeah,
they lost their window.
George had that terrible leg injury. That totally was at a terrible time for their franchise as well. But they had a really solid squad, between PG-13. Maybe it was an all-star for a sec. This was when Lance Stevenson was a solid player.
What are you talking
about? Yeah, he's back. He's back again. Round 4, Electric Boogaloo. It's happening. Who else was there? There was who was their point guard? George Hill. I mean, George Hill was good. Was
really nice.
Then Danny Granger was solid for a bit, but then they traded him for Evan Turner for a moment.
Monta Ellis.
I think that was maybe before, anyways.
They had Ellis.
I don't know if we're getting our eras mixed up or not.
Yeah, I mean, they're all like, I think Monta definitely played there when Paul George played there. Like at the
well, then he might have been. Yeah, it might have been a good part of that squad. I know George, he didn't really turn on till like his second or third year. I mean, he got better each year. He won most improved player like on his third season. But yeah, I mean,
competing with LeBron, like that was one of the most exciting for a while. Just George against LeBron.
It was like, damn, he's like, he's grooming this new player, kind of. Yeah, I don't know, or it's kind of one guy looking up to the other. It's cool.
Yeah, so that was really cool. But yeah, I mean, that's right to my point. Like, it's hard to rebuild as is, but like all these players, like they give all this pressure. Like we have to start winning. We have this team, and like for the Magic's example, like we have Cole, we have Franz, and Wendell Carter. These are 3 solid young pieces that are like already they're pretty good, and like to fill like veterans in, start trading people now. That's ridiculous. We're not even a full year into the rebuild. Like, and people, I still see people talking about that, and the Pacer, like. And on the other end of the spectrum, so like Timberwolves fans are like, just fuck it, blow it up. I'm like, dude, like we have like the talent. We just need to start filling it in with smaller role players at a time, and that's what we have been doing. They've accumulated a decent team, and now look at us. They're in the play-in. Obviously, they're a few pieces away from getting further than that. So, like,
Yeah.
People, fan bases just get so fidgety. Like,
well, it was frustrating because we went early. The Timberwolves went early on the rebuild as well when they traded for Jimmy Butler. They gave up Zach LaVine. Had they just kept Zach LaVine, you would have had an all-star player. But if you kept them, you maybe don't get Anthony Edwards either. So it's whatever, I guess, at this point. But either way, it pushed ourselves back. Like, we ended up getting that number 1 pick. A lot of the reason was Cat was injured too. But then once we got healthy, we started trading for guys again. We got D'Lo. We made some really good under the radar plays like Jared Vanderbilt. We got in a trade. We got Jalen Noel, I believe, in the same trade. A couple of guys who are great now and solid components of this team. Jared Vanderbilt just keeps getting better too.
And Malik in that same trade. That's where they got
Malik
Beasley.
in that same trade. Yeah, that was a huge trade. I think all they gave up in that one was Covington.
Well, he was the real piece. He was the biggest real piece. They gave up some fringe.
We gave up, Keita Bates-Diop too.
Yeah.
It was like, but I mean, for the most part, that was a great trade. And then, obviously there was the drafting of Anthony Edwards. Naz Reid was a good draft pick.
Very great draft
pick. Accumulate these players, they develop, they get better. Then you trade or you sign for new players. We're at that point now where the Timberwolves can trade or sign for a player. Like maybe they trade for a Montrezl Harrell. That would be a big addition to this team. You don't want to give up too much either. But I think the Timberwolves should be totally willing to give up, like, Jaden McDaniels if the trade makes sense. I think give up Okogie no matter what. I think Naz Reid is an interesting one if, like, you're getting a solid player back, if it's
Miles Turner
picks. Yeah, for sure. But I wouldn't, just give him up for nothing. Jared Vanderbilt, I know a lot of teams want him, but I would say he should be untouchable at this point.
Jared Vanderbilt's untouchable.
Unless like you giving me something really good, like I don't want to give up him as a package for Ben Simmons if I'm also giving up like multiple draft picks. Like if I'm giving up Vanderbilt, I'm not giving up more than 1 first-round pick
with other players, with like Jaden and maybe Noel involved.
And Malik and
that's fine.
But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think Vanderbilt should be a throw-in on a trade.
No, I mean he's definitely a working piece, but that's my point. Like the Timberwolves, they gathered all this talent that they either traded for or accumulated, but like when you're at the stage like the Magic and the Pistons and the Rockets, and people are frustrated because they're not winning games, it's like they're rebuilding. Like you as a fan, you have to take your enjoyment not from winning, but from the development you see. Like I am ecstatic with the Magic team I see right now. We don't need to win right now. We're getting stuff out of Cole. We're getting stuff out of Franz. Mo Bamba has shown flashes. I'm not sold on him. Marco Fultz was playing really well, but like I said, Wendell Carter's fine. Shuma showed flashes. I mean, I'm content with another maybe year of just losing really bad. Like obviously you want to see them start winning more games as it goes on, because you like to see that their scoring attributes to winning. However, right now you just want to see them get comfortable. You want to see them score. You want to see this 38-point game from Franz. You want to see like Cole score all that well.
Yeah, the glimpses of greatness is great.
Yeah,
while
and
still losing games.
Suggs' defensive potential. Yeah, like you just take the enjoyment from what you have, and like same thing with the Pistons. They're looking at Cade. They're looking at those Sadiq Bey. They're like, oh yeah, we have some solid players, and we like to see them excel. But if you're just expecting wins, it's not fair to the players. Like they just came into this,
and you don't know if those guys are going to be stars. And trading for some other guys that aren't stars isn't going to make it any better. I did see that the Pistons put an offer out there for Ben Simmons. That was rejected. It was Jeremy Grant, a first-round pick, and Kelly Olynyk.
Oh, that's not a bad pickup for the 76ers. I think there's probably better out there, but I don't think that's the worst thing. I think Simmons is young enough where it's not like you're trading for Serge, who is obviously a win now, who was a win now player at the time. You're trading for a guy who's still, what is he, 23, 24, Simmons, who's still pretty young. And like he may not, he's ready to win, but he would not hurt from entering a rebuild and building around him. Like if the Magic went out and got Simmons, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. Like,
I mean, whoever trades for him is kind of indicating like, hey, we're in like a soft rebuild at the worst. Like if the Pistons traded for him, they would be saying like, hey, we're kind of accelerating our rebuild a little bit. We're assuming we're still going to get a high draft pick this year. We bring in Ben Simmons and we have Kate Cunningham already. You know, you don't need a ton more beyond that, but you're still going to have your own other draft picks, still going to have Sadiq Bey. But 76ers weren't about it, I guess. It sounds like, I don't know, if I'm